guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at some of the strangest unsolved mysteries. These mysteries haven't been solved and I wonder if there's a reason for that.
The Circleville letters. In 1977, residents of Circleville, Ohio began receiving threatening and harassing anonymous letters.
Oh god, that's like one of the worst things that could ever happen. You imagine getting a letter and you don't know who it's from and it's like threatening you. Yet again, 1977 or something like that. What was up with them times? Serial killers were out and about. People are getting threatening letters. Thank god I was born after 2000.
We're not talking about a couple or hundreds, but thousands of letters. They all had the same block lettering, and they would target politicians and leaders, but also just plain folks who had nothing to do with the running of Circleville at all.
Okay, so apparently thousands of threatening letters are getting sent to people in that area. Somebody's obviously got something against that area. That would be so scary, because like, if they start off with threatening letters, imagine what they're gonna go on to next.
The letters had very distinctive handwriting and contained accusations of embezzlement, affairs, and even murders. Ron Gillespie died under mysterious circumstances after receiving a phone call and announcing that he was going to confront the writer.
Was Ron Gillespie's death an accident? Was he really drunk that night? And why had one bullet been fired from his handgun?
Oh god, so I think this man went to confront the writer and then he ended up losing his life. Now that's quite freaky, because yet again, someone's done it. All of these mysteries are unsolved, so we don't actually know what happened in the end, which is quite freaky. It would actually make me feel kind of comfortable knowing that like someone got arrested and they found out who it was, but they don't know who it was. And it was in 1977, which was like, I don't know, nearly 50 years ago.
His wife was nearly killed by a gun in a booby trap attached to a sign. It turned out that Paul Freshour, Ron's brother-in-law, bought the gun, and his handwriting was deemed to match the letters.
Oh, so was it maybe his brother? I mean, something happened to the wrong guy and then something nearly happened to his wife. I'm starting to see a connection here.
Yet, during his time in prison, people in town continued receiving them, even while Freshour was in solitary confinement. If Freshour was the writer, he wasn't working alone.
I mean, you don't know, it could be a group of them, it could be a group of like 10 people. Yet again, it's freaky to think that obviously people were doing it. Like someone who might not be alive, or maybe they are, we don't know, they're gonna be really old. Someone was up to it, like someone wrote them letters.
Havana syndrome.
Doctors said that Diplomat's brain matter had actually changed. What started out as a mysterious nuisance became a suspected instrument of attack.
Okay, so I just heard the word attack and that's already freaky. By the looks of it, this also went to like a court or like a big place in America with like powerful people.
Since 2016, US officials and military personnel have been experiencing strange symptoms. These include pain, ringing in the ears, as well as difficulty with cognitive processes.
A source says starting last December, the U.S. officials were exposed to a sonic device, which experts suggest could produce sound waves below and above human hearing, which could cause these symptoms.
So something's happening to these Navy people and they're all getting a bit ill. Oh god, that's quite scary. You know how they were talking about the high-pitched noise, how you can't hear it but can still do damage? I remember whenever I was younger, I'd always go to shops and I'd hear like a really high-pitched noise, but like I didn't know where it was from. It turns out the shops are actually playing like really high-pitched sonic noises so the kids wouldn't hang around the shops. Adults couldn't hear it, so like my mum would always look at me and think, I can't hear anything, so what are you listening to? And I went back to the shop quite recently, I couldn't hear a single thing, but I could see the other kids were reacting like in discomfort because they could hear it but I couldn't, and that is how you know I'm getting old.
Named for the location it was initially reported, the embassy in Havana, Cuba, Havana syndrome has since been reported at US bases and embassies in various countries. While some of those suffering from it have existing head injuries that could explain the symptoms, not all of them do.
So some people have got head injuries which might explain it, but others don't. I mean, if they're all having the same symptoms, could it be stress? Could it be anxiety? I mean, imagine being in the Navy, that's so stressful, I could not do that. I would probably have a mental breakdown. But think of it, a country could do that. They could like sabotage a Navy if they wanted to, or like a certain section of it. It's quite freaky, isn't it? Like they haven't got to the bottom of it.
The recording is just one of the many sounds taken in Cuba that led investigators to initially believe it was a sonic weapon.
Proposed explanations have included a psychogenic illness, the sound of crickets, or even a microwave weapon.
I mean, you don't know, people have so many types of weapons nowadays. Apparently they're using like a sonic one. That would really affect kids. So if you ever didn't like someone in your school, people used to do it in my school by the way, what they would do is play a really high-pitched noise out of a speaker and everyone would hear it. It was hell.
While the CIA has concluded that most cases were probably not caused by a foreign power, 24 cases remain unexplained. Accidental or targeted, Havana syndrome is yet to be fully understood.
We don't know the answer, maybe one day we will. But either way, Navy people were getting ill and that is quite scary.
Salish Sea feet. Since 2007, residents of Washington Washington, USA, and British Columbia, Canada, have found some rather morbid jetsam washed up on their beaches.
I think I've actually seen this before. I watched this years ago on the television. This is quite freaky. If I am correct, basically feet, like shoes filled with someone's feet, started washing up on like a beachside. So like, I don't know, imagine something happened where like you literally lost your ankle, like your ankle disconnected from your leg and like your foot was in a shoe. Loads of shoes like started turning up in like a beach somewhere in Washington. And I don't mean like one or two, I mean like quite a few.
Detached human feet. Most of them were found still inside shoes.
Now, you also have to consider whether or not this could be a serial killer, somebody who right now is underneath the radar.
Exactly, like imagine that, like they literally found loads of shoes filled with human feet. Quite freaky, isn't it? They originally thought there was maybe people who went out to sea to like take their own lives and like the sea, like I don't know, ruin their body and like all like dissolved. But like it's a fact that like loads of shoes like randomly popped up. Could you maybe test the flesh inside of the shoes and like find out who the person was?
Foul play has been ruled out, as most of the identified victims were involved in accidents or took their own lives. It's been speculated that the feet detached as the bodies decayed, and that the air pockets and buoyant foam in sneakers floated them to the surface.
I mean, either way, that's quite freaky. Like, imagine you literally go to the beach for a walk and you find a foot inside of a shoe. I used to go to the beach 3 times a day whenever I was younger. Like, I was obsessed with the beach, especially with the waves. And I don't even want to imagine me coming across like a shoe filled with flesh. I just like feel so uncomfortable because like that's someone's foot. Like someone was alive and now their foot is right in front of me.
But it still seems extremely odd that there have been so many, and all around the same area.
There are still far more questions than answers. Are these cases connected? How did the people die? And how many more feet are out there still to be found?
They did say that like homicide had nothing to do with it, so at least we know it's hopefully not a serial killer. But I mean, you don't know. Either way, it's just freaky to think that that's someone's foot and someone has lost their life, but we don't know how. And I think it's quite freaky that mystery's also unsolved.
Roman jars in a Brazilian bay. The historical consensus is that the first European visitors to Brazil were Portuguese, who arrived in 1500 AD. However, it is possible that the Romans beat them to it. In 1976, several amphorae, or Roman jars, were uncovered from the bottom of Guanabara Bay off the coast of Rio de Janeiro. This caught the attention of archaeologist and treasure hunter Robert Marks.
I love how they call him a treasure hunter. I'd love to be a treasure hunter. Imagine doing that as a job. That would be so fun. Whenever I was younger, I really wanted a metal detector because I genuinely thought if I went into my back garden, I'd be able to find like a little treasure chest. The only thing I'd find out there would be dog poo.
Who explored the area further and claimed to have found up to 200 more amphorae. Experts dated fragments to around the 3rd century. However, the idea that Romans arrived before the Portuguese deeply upset many Brazilians, and the government banned underwater exploration.
Oh, so the government banned it? Is it because like they don't want the truth to possibly be wrong? I mean, imagine you live in a country and you've been told something all your life and that like, I don't know, the first people to go into that country are certain type of people and then it turns out it might not be them. I mean, it could be ruined like history or like a tradition. But why would the government ban you? Maybe the government knew that or they're hiding it, or maybe they don't want the real truth to come out.
So the depths of this mystery remain unknown.
Well, I mean, if the government banned it, obviously they're trying to hide something because the government usually doesn't ban a lot of things. And if they do, it's usually for a specific reason.
Gloria Ramirez's death. While suffering from cervical cancer, Gloria Ramirez was admitted to an emergency room in California in 1994. While treating her, the medical personnel noticed odd symptoms, including a greasy polish to her skin, a strange odor from her mouth, and oddly shaped particles in her blood. Then, several of the people in the room began passing out. Overall, 23 people were affected by these strange symptoms.
Yet again, I think I've heard of this before. I used to be obsessed with watching really like interesting programs. I do remember this. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's as if she like, I don't know, was contagious and like she like infected them.
And Ramirez passed away, with the initial diagnosis being from kidney failure. The most common suggestion for Ramirez's apparent toxicity was that she was taking dimethyl sulfoxide, a home pain treatment, which, combined with several of the treatments, turned into an acidic substance.
She died of kidney failure, but like other people got infected and like got ill. That's quite freaky, isn't it? It's literally like something out of a horror film. It's one of them like disease films where like someone coughs and then like next thing you know, the other person's infected.
Another suggestion is exposure to methylamine, but no one knows for sure.
Yet again, we don't know, and that is what is so freaky. It's like if these mysteries were solved, you know, I could sleep well at night. But it's the fact that like missing feet are turning up at a beach. That woman like infected people. people. Like, it's just freaky, isn't it?
Tromp family breakdown. In 2016, Mark and Jacoba Tromp took their 3 adult children on an impromptu road trip hundreds of miles north.
If I am correct, these people literally completely disappeared and they left their dog in the car, didn't they? Yet again, I feel like I've heard of all these unexplained mysteries. I think it's because I used to watch Unexplained Mysteries. Wasn't there like a show like that on TV years ago? I mean, there was in British TV. I'm not sure about American TV.
Mark seemed convinced that people were out to get them and forbade phones. Their son Mitchell brought one anyway, but it was later thrown out the car window. He left, not understanding his parents' paranoia. Later, the daughters left too, stealing a car before splitting up.
Oh my god, so they literally split up? Never mind, I think I'm thinking of another family. Maybe the same thing happened, but the family I'm thinking of was a mother, a father, and a young daughter and a dog. I don't think this is the same family.
Rihanna was found in a catatonic state. Ultimately, all returned safely, but no explanation has been given specifically for what happened.
What is a catatonic state? I don't know what that is. A group of symptoms that usually involve a lack of movement and communication. Oh, so like she was basically like, I don't know, like freaked out, like she wasn't able to communicate.
Whether it was shared psychosis or someone was out to get the Tromps, the case has fascinated the world ever since.
Okay, so they like didn't die, did they? They were all like found alive, weren't they? But like they were really traumatized. I mean, it could be mental health. Isn't like schizophrenia passed down possibly? I don't know, like you get really paranoid, maybe they're on medication, but yet again, it's unsolved and that's what's freaky.
Oakville blobs. In 1994, Oakville, Washington experienced perhaps the strangest weather phenomenon of the last few decades. It rained blobs. Strange goo fell from the sky over a period of several weeks.
Oh, so it's basically like just like blobs, like random stuff. When I was younger, I watched a TV program about how there was like a tornado over a like forest and like it somehow rained frogs. Like that's kind of weird, but like this is blobs. Also, if you can hear my mom in the background, she decided to hoover when I'm filming a video and I don't know why.
And it made people sick.
I got sick, my wife got sick, my daughter.
What's even more bizarre is that the residents experienced a widespread illness that lasted for several weeks too. So what could this goo have been?
Could it have been like a government experiment, maybe something up with the climate? I was thinking it could have been like sleep, but like that's not like glue. This is like sticky stuff, basically like slime. So slime literally rained on these people and they got ill. I'm telling you, it's the government.
Someone theorized that since the Navy had been conducting live bombing runs at sea, they might have blown up a school of jellyfish. And of course, this jellyfish would have been thrown up into the air and floated 50 miles inland, and over a period of 3 weeks, fallen 6 times.
I mean, it could be many things, but I don't think it's jellyfish that got blown up at sea. Maybe it was like a government experiment. They wanted to try stuff out. I mean, sometimes whenever you look up at the sky, some airplanes have like a trail after them, some of them don't. It's quite crazy, isn't it? It's like, is it chemicals they're maybe putting into the atmosphere, or is it something more sinister?
Was it evaporated bits of jellyfish that reformed in a cloud, or maybe waste from an airplane? The most troubling theory is that the event was a military experiment on US soil.
I mean, you don't know, it could be. It could absolutely be a military experiment. I literally said that it could be the government. I can't remember what year that happened, but I think it happened quite a while ago, so I don't know, it could be the government.
There are a whole mess of theories about this messy and weird weather.
And yet again, we don't know the real answer, so maybe the government did do it, maybe the government shut it down. You know how in Brazil the government shut down exploring the water? Maybe the US government shut down any talk about the blobby rain. I don't know.
The disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370.
Yet again, I know all about this. Like, I honestly know all of these things. I used to watch really weird programs. I knew about the shows, I know about this one. I'm telling you, Aircraft Investigation, it's the best show ever.
On March 8th, 2014, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 vanished while flying from Malaysia to China after a loss of communications and its disappearance from civilian radar. Flight 370 reappeared on military radar, having deviated from its planned flight path. The disappearance has fascinated the public for years and led to several expensive searches.
I don't think they ever found the aircraft, or maybe found like a piece of it, but I think we all know what happened. I think it's a fact that people were literally on that airplane, like obviously something happened, like they all went down. Was it possibly the pilot committing suicide? I mean, that's quite serious, isn't it? Like, imagine if the pilot was suicidal. He could literally end his life and loads of other people's lives. Whenever I get onto an airplane, I always think, you know, am I going to disappear? Because there's been quite a few airplanes that have disappeared. That's why I don't like flying over oceans, especially to America. Because think of it, it's a big old ocean. Like, we're proper going over miles of oceans. If something happened, I don't think we'd have a high chance of surviving.
It seemed impossible for an entire airplane to just go missing in an age where everything can be seen by satellites. Although a few pieces have washed ashore, the bulk of the aircraft and the reason for its deviation remain unclear.
So parts of the aircraft were found, they washed up, so it kind of does give you an idea of what probably happened. I mean, we don't know, maybe they ran into really bad weather, the pilot decided to take it down, maybe someone hijacked it, or maybe the plane just completely failed. Either way, the plane and everyone on board disappeared and we don't have answers.
Speculations have run the gamut from a hijacking to being shot down to some kind of equipment failure.
I mean, yeah, that's probably what happened. It was one of them three things. Either way, it's just sad that people were on board that plane and they all lost their innocent lives. Anyways, guys, that's where I'm gonna leave that video there. That is some of the strangest unsolved mysteries ever. If you want to see me watch more videos like this in the future, let me know. I definitely will. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, press the subscribe button, and yes, I'll see you all in my next video.